Good evening and welcome to the Awareness Magazine TV show. Tonight on the show we have Lisa Kalmin. And Lisa Kalmin for the past 30 years has been an international transformational trainer and coach. She is also the author of the upcoming book, The Problem is How You See the Problem.
Yes.
Please welcome Lisa to the show.
Hi. Thank you for
Lisa.
having me.
Oh, you're welcome,
So glad
Lisa.
to be here.
Thank you for being here. So we're
Absolutely.
honored to have you here.
Thank you.
So first, tell the audience a little bit about your background and how you
Sure.
became a coach.
Well, my background is actually in communications as well as business. I have an MBA from the University of Texas. I grew up in Houston.
Okay.
And how I got into all of this was I was an investment manager for a large company. And Houston and Denver were my territories. Now, this is the 1980s.
Okay.
So the economy was oil-based and terrible in both of those places. And I'd be in Houston and everybody would be struggling and despondent. And I'd go to Denver and everybody was uplifted and successful. And I was wondering, what was the difference?
Yeah.
And so when I began to talk to
Interesting.
people, they had done this work, transformational work, where it really is a paradigm shift. And they began to look at life differently. And so I said, well, tell me about it. I want to go. And so after my own participation in that work, which was absolutely the most impactful experience of my life, I was 28 years old at the time. And let me say, it is still number 3 alongside getting married and having children. So I want to say it's still up there. My world turned from black and white to color.
Wow.
And I really wanted to engage in that. And I ended up learning to be a trainer, coach, facilitator, and have actually coached and trained over 25,000 people.
Oh my
internationally.
gosh,
Yes.
that's amazing.
Yeah, so that's how I got here.
Wonderful, and that's great. You get to travel around the world and talk and help people.
Beautiful.
And one thing with today with businesses, so many of them are losing morals. Like there's no moral compass. It's getting
Yes.
very greedy. And how do you work with companies to try and bring back integrity and honor and
Yeah, that's great. You're right. And look, there are many companies that do have a good heart. You know,
Okay.
they want to do well. They're not trying to cheat themselves, their clients,
Good,
anyone
good.
else. Yeah. And I think as an entrepreneur, I work with entrepreneurs, I work with executive leaders, CEOs. As someone in charge of an organization, whether it's nonprofit or for-profit, I think there are 3 pillars that are key to inspiring both the leader and everybody that works with him or her.
okay.
Number 1 is integrity. And by integrity, you know, I used to think of integrity as wholeness, and it is that, integral. You know, it's from the word integral.
Yes.
And the wholeness, but it also, I looked up the definition recently, is incorruptibility.
Oh.
So
that's great.
not being corrupted by whatever that is, needing profits, needing to cut costs. It's really having sometimes to make the very hard decisions that are difficult but actually serve everyone.
Okay.
And if it's not serving your integrity and their integrity, it's not really integrity.
Right.
Yeah. And number 2 is vision and purpose. To keep a big, and many companies have missions, but a vision is something that really lights you up. It brings meaning to your day. It's the why behind everything we do. And so what is that vision? What is that purpose for that leader, for that organization? And then 3rd is authenticity. And that is sometimes the most difficult, even for me, to bring to the party. It's just being really honest and authentic about what's going on.
Yeah.
So things are in a breakdown, when we say it's in a breakdown. If somebody's done a great job, you tell them they've done a great job. If somebody isn't being served by the organization or they're not serving the organization, then being authentic about that. And I actually think those pillars work in our everyday life. You know, as parents, as spouses, as partners, as friends, as community leaders as well.
Yes, because you do train people to be leaders
Yeah.
with family, friends, and with their workers, their employees.
Absolutely, absolutely. And look, I think we all have had an experience in life where one area is working but another area isn't.
Yes.
And we're off balance. And so making sure to bring the same level of connection and love into my career as I am with my family and my kids. And health,
Definitely
obviously taking
health.
care of ourselves.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you also mentioned charity and volunteer work. I know you've raised $2.4 million for charity, and please tell our viewers a little bit about that.
Oh, I'd love to. I did not personally raise that,
Okay.
but my training company works with groups of leaders, and we support them in not only accomplishing their own goals, but also going out in the community and working with organizations in Southern California and raising money, but also donating their time, donating material goods, etc. And through that, we've raised over $2.4 million for charitable organizations in this part of the world.
Wow.
And then they have spent many hours mentoring or supporting or guiding and going into the organizations and actually, bringing the personal touch. So
That's great.
Yeah, very proud of that. It's really great stuff.
That's wonderful. Yeah, more businesses need to be doing that.
Yeah, I really want to be a patron of businesses that do either charitable work or that they are connected to a foundation or they have their own foundation. I'm always more apt to buy their products or their services.
Definitely. Definitely. And tell us a little bit about your new book that's coming out, The Problem is How You See the Problem. Yeah, how did you come about writing that?
Well, it really is the core of the work I do, which is the problem is how you see the problem. Meaning the way we're looking at a situation is really what determines our ability to navigate it powerfully or possibly be at effect or a victim of the conditions or circumstances. So can I give you a quick example from myself?
Absolutely, please.
Yeah, so I traveled to Asia to do this transformational work. And within the last year, on 2 separate trips to Asia, I lost a lot of jewelry, twice. And this was pieces that had been given to me. Sentimental, irreplaceable for many reasons.
Yeah.
And I was so mad at myself, and because it really was carelessness on my own part. I was devastated by my own lack of rigor,
Yeah.
And so finally what I began to think of is like, wait a minute, what would I say to one of my clients? What would I say to one of my students? And the problem is how I see the problem. And now I miss my jewelry, but what I did is I reframed it. I looked at what are the lessons that I learned out of that. One being, I'm not my mistakes, I'm not my failures, I'm not my successes.
Right.
That my past isn't going to determine my future. And if I think it does, then I'm always going to be looking in the wrong direction. Also, that stripped of what I have, like the belongings, who am I? And I really began to look at what are the aspects of myself that I'm inspired by and what do I really want to work on.
Right.
I also began to see how often people want to support me and I maybe don't let it in as deeply as I can. And that not just people, but the universe wants to support me.
Right.
And that the lessons are going to keep coming and I might as well surrender to them.
Exactly.
And I also realized that my mom is going through severe dementia.
Oh,
and so losing
sorry.
something material is nothing compared to kind of losing that part of her.
Right.
And to really cherish the moments because it's been sad in one way, but also bitter, but really sweet in its innocence, honestly.
Yeah.
And how many people have lost their homeland? How many people have lost their homes over the last year in the floods and the hurricanes?
Yeah.
Many friends of mine in Houston actually went through that. How many people have lost love or have lost a family member?
Yeah.
And so I really began to look at how do we reframe, or how do I reframe anything that happens to me to generate me being a more substantial possibility in the world. Because really, if my mission and vision is to make a difference, then everything is going to serve me.
Definitely.
Everything's going to serve me. So that's kind of the premise of in the book, with some clear distinctions on how to make it work.
How to make it work,
Yeah.
yeah. And you are definitely making the world a better place by all your work.
Well,
and
thank you.
It's great. It's wonderful. So, and when is your book coming out? Do you have a
I'm
date?
looking by the end of the year.
By the end of the year.
It could be sooner, but my editor will probably be giving me some edits.
Some edits to finish. Yeah.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah, and so you're originally from Texas, and you went to Colorado first, and then to California.
I actually, that was my territory, but I lived in Houston, Texas,
Okay.
and then I, by way of Florida and Washington, D.C., ended up in Southern California.
Okay.
And so it has been a blessing. The other thing that I would say has been one of my major life lessons is I had twins at the age of 51 years old, twin boys. Now, I didn't have them. My wife had them.
Okay.
And at 51 years old, I had spent my entire life in relationships, but not with children. And so I got to reframe my life in that way.
Yeah.
And no matter how much work I'd done, my children became such great life lessons, such great life lessons.
Definitely.
And so thankful to have them as that.
Yeah.
So when I work with people, it's really about how do they take whatever life situations they've got, whether they're extraordinarily successful and working or maybe not exactly where they want them, how do they really take that, reframe the way they look at it, their belief system, their paradigm, their worldview, so that they access whole new possibilities, whole new ways of being in relation to what's occurring in their life. So for example, one of my clients is an entrepreneur who started an app to support people who need help immediately, especially if, for example, if they have a family member that got addiction. And there was no consistent way to get people quick support. And he went from the idea of the app and through my working with him and our working together to getting funding for over $1 million, and it's well on its way to becoming a really important support to the community.
And that is so important because for an addict, once they get that urge, they need help immediately.
Yeah,
it's not
about how do you find
that's
someone
very
support,
timely.
a bed, what do they need in literally seconds. So,
Yeah.
So that's just an example of taking an idea and a possibility and moving it
forward and getting it going.
And
what a
have
great
the result.
idea they had. Yeah, how great you got to work with them.
Oh, yeah.
So,
he's just such a special person as well.
Yeah, you must have a lot of success stories, and it must be fun to see your clients grow and keep moving forward and doing good work.
Yeah, it really is.
And then tell us the name of your company. What is the name of your company?
The name of the company is the WorldWorks Trainings.
The WorldWorks Trainings.
Right.
Okay.
And through that company, we've got a couple of other companies that we do other things, business trainings, some relationship work as well.
Great. Yeah. Well, how exciting, and I'm so glad that you were able to join us today.
Thank you.
And
What a
we'll definitely
privilege.
have you back on the show.
I'd
and
love that.
That would be great. You have so much knowledge, and so thank you for your good work you're putting out there. And
and thank you for this opportunity.
You're welcome. You're welcome. It was fun, and thank you for watching the show, and have a lovely evening. Thank you.